my YouTube beauties. I just want to thank y'all. 150 subscribers. Yay! I remember when I first started uploading, I didn't really care about subscribers, and then it went from like literally for the past few months, it went from 10 to 20 to 50 to 60 to 100. Now I'm at 150. So it's been growing, and I guess it's because I've been more consistent with my videos, and I just do it from the heart. Whatever comes to my mind, I talk about it. And that's me. That's just, I'm real. And once it gets to 200, I'm going to start doing like a girl chat. Also, for those of y'all who really watching me like that, I'm going to get a Shein light. I ordered it from Amazon. So this way y'all can see me better, because I know my lighting is very poor. That's why most of the time I try to do videos like if I'm in a car, Uber, or I'm outside walking around. So first of all, happy Good Friday. We call it Good Friday because Jesus died on Friday. He was arrested on Wednesday and he was tried on Thursday. There was a man in the scriptures who he didn't want the responsibility of putting Jesus on a cross. So he asked the crowd, and they said, crucify him, crucify him. Remember I said in my previous video that the same people who said Hosanna were the same people who said crucify him, right? Tonight, I'm also going to be going to church, Morning Star. If you're in the Brooklyn area, it's a fabulous church, not just because it's my family, but we have church. And on Sunday, if I wake up in time enough, because I was like, I hate waking up in the morning, too early. But if I'm up, I should be up. I don't have any plans this weekend like I normally do. So I was like, I'm going to do the church thing. I'm going to do the church thing. But I planned on going to Hezekiah Walker's church. And for all my Brooklyn people, that's on Liberty Avenue. So I'll be going there Sunday, and tonight I will be going to Morning Star on Halsey. It's on the J line. But today I wanted to talk about No Disrespect, and I see a lot of people are rereading her book because she actually has a new book out that came out 2 years ago. So it's what prompted people to start rereading her books. She is honestly one of the best writers of our time, and it's because she knows how to just keep you in. It's definitely a page turner. Not just the coolest one to ever, but No Disrespect. And the reason why I feel like it's a page turner is because they're her life experiences. It's not fiction, and it comes straight from the heart. And I think I'm going to do the same thing, but in a separate book, because my next book will be thrillers and fictional short stories. One of them is real. It's about a power experience I had at work with the supernatural. And the rest of them will be fictional. And in between, I'm going to be writing poems. But for my next book after that, I have to talk about the men that I've met and dated, because women would learn from it. And I've met some very different type of men. I feel like the dudes that I've encountered are very different from each other and from other men. And even when I tell my friends about my experiences, they're like, where the fuck do you meet these men, Crystal? They like, yo, it don't even sound real. It sounds crazy. Like, it just, So I'm like, you know what? I have to write about it. I have to, right? And just rereading the No Disrespect, it just makes me want to do that. So boom, here we go. The chapter Mona is not as good as the other chapters, so I kind of skipped that. Again, this book I'm rereading, and I'm surprised that I didn't remember like certain chapters. I wanted to talk about chapter 6. Now, Nathan was a really, really good chapter, and I talked about that in my previous video. But I wanted to talk about Chance because this is why it's important to have common sense. And I know Sister Souljah, it was a learning experience for her, but I feel like she did what a lot of women do, and something that I've never done. The first mistake she made is to not have standards. This is how Chance was able to get to her, because a dude like Chance, even when I was young, could never like get my mind like that. Like, he really had her open, you know. She started having sex with him. She did a lot of things that she wasn't gonna do. And in the end, he played her, but it was from her being naive and her not keeping her guard up. You have to keep your guard up. When a guy starts lying to you, ladies, you have to keep your guard up. So the very first lie that Chance had was he lied about having a child. And it was, so Sister Souljah, she worked with children, and one of the kids that she worked with was 11 years old, and she was briefly talking to her, and you know, she was just talking casually, and she's like, does he have any kids? And she's like, no. She's like, well, did you ask him if he had children? And she's like, well, no. And she's like, well, you need to ask him, because a man that fine, mind you, she's 11, and she's like, oh my God. So she asked him, and he's like, yeah, I got an 8-month-old. And then he mocks her, and he's like, oh, you college girls, y'all want the white picket fence and a fairy tale, this and that. Listen, yes, we do. And I tell all my friends, if you don't want to be with a man who has kids, don't. Because guess what? I've had 2 of my exes that told me straight up that if I had 2 kids, they would not have dated me. Right? Straight up. Like, that's their standard. They're not dating a woman with 2 kids or more. And that's I feel like they speak for most men. They don't speak for all men, but that's most men. And then you got some men, like me, I have 1 kid. They're not going to bother with me because I have that 1 kid. They don't care. That's their standard. So as women, and you have no children, it's okay to have your standard. Don't feel like, oh, well, everybody have kids. I had a former friend of mine. She just took anything. I'm like, listen, how you dating guys with kids more than me? I have a kid. I'm not dating no guy, especially in my 20s. Hell no, I'm not dating you and you got fucking kids. Are you kidding me? No, it's about me and only me. I don't want to share you. Sorry. Sorry. So, you know, to be in your 20s and in your early 20s and you playing stepmom, no, ladies, don't do it. It's understandable if you get older and whatever, but not when you're in your 20s. Do not settle for that. So that was the number 1 red flag. He didn't tell her that he had a kid. She had to ask him. So, no, that wasn't right. That was very unfortunate. Number 2, he comes into her house one day and he's like, oh, I'm a drug dealer. What? And she's like, stupid old Souljah. She's like, oh, I could change you. I could help you change. Bitch, if he tells you that he's a drug dealer, and that's one thing about me, even when I was young, I never try to change a man. The only thing I try to do is I try to like invite different dudes I was dating to church. That's the most I would ever try to do. And I learned don't do that, because if they're not spiritual on their own, they never will be. If they don't love God, they're never going to love God. So you either have to accept the fact that they atheists and move on with your life, or you just got to take it. And that's what I learned. But as far as a man that's in the streets and he a drug dealer, no. And I have my own experiences with those type of men. And I remember one particular man, his name was Brandon. I'll never forget, he had a real leather jacket on. And me, I have an eye for stuff. I know what's real. I know fake jewelry when I see it. I know real jewelry when I see it. His leather jacket was real. And I was like, how can you afford that? I said, we went out on the town. The first red flag was he paid everything with cash. Now, mind you, we went to a nice restaurant, and this was after I gave birth. Like, I just had my son, and he was a nice guy, you know. He was, but I kept pressing him. I was like, yo, what do you do for a living? Like, he's like, oh, I work for MTA. I said, nah, you got an $800. Now, it's possible you could have something nice and work hard. We all have nice things. But something in my spirit just said drug dealer. And sure enough, he said he was a drug dealer. I was like, yo, I can't deal with you. I just had a baby, and no, I'm not going to do that. And he felt bad or whatever, and I'm like, no. But I pressed him. I made sure that I listened to that little intuition inside of me, and I was like, yo, he got a real leather jacket on, everything on him designer. Like, for us who like nice things, our whole wardrobe is not gonna be name brand. Some stuff, like for me, some of my stuff is from Rainbow, right? Some of my stuff is cheap. If I have on my fur coat that I spent some thousands on, I'm not gonna have $2,500 boots, 25 Gucci necklace. That's what you call too much. And when you see people dressed like that all the time, 24/7, they doing something illegal. So I'm from East New York, so I already knew what time it was. He had designer, everything on him was designer. The leather jacket he had on was real. I was like, no, you don't work for no goddamn MTA. And so that's when he came out. You know, so it's like, as a woman, ladies, you gotta be smart. And so Sister Souljah, she was from, I love her writing because she's so honest. She was from the hood and she's from the projects, but she was not street smart at all when it came to dudes. Like, these dudes in the book, they just played her left and right. And it's sad, but hopefully she learned from it, you know. But that's why for me, you know, I've fallen in love, and we all have fallen in love. But I was always like smart when it came to dudes. Like, I kind of knew, you know, I knew things before they would happen. Sometimes I wouldn't listen, but I wasn't naive. You know, I wasn't stupid. You know, that's one thing about me. Like, even at 18, 19 years old, I just, you know, I wasn't like that. So she finds out that Chance is a drug dealer, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna help change you. So then later on, they realize, you know what, we're just gonna take things slow, whatever. So one day she gets a phone call, and this is the climax. This is what I call a climax. She gets a phone call, and it's from a woman named Angela, and she's like, oh, the baby is sick. I usually don't call people, but the baby is sick, He walks in the house and he's like, yo, what's up? So she's like, Angela tells Sister Souljah I'm his wife. She like, what? This nigga try to marry me? What you mean you his wife? Like, she's like, we live in Co-op City, And that's Sister Souljah's fault. I can't feel sorry for her, because it's like, you never seen the inside of this man's home. Yeah, he lived in Castle Hill Projects. Shout out Remy Ma neighborhood, you know, Bronx. Bronx. But BX. But yeah, so she couldn't go inside his home. You know, those are all clues. And so my thing is, if you can't go, if you have never seen the inside of a man's home, you can't be catching feelings. Like, you gotta know, this is my thing, you gotta know your position, accept your position. You can't be, just head over heels and da-da-da-da. And yeah, she was young, but you gotta be smart too, you know. So those are all clues. So, you know, he kept her away. And then that's another thing. He was very possessive. He was telling her, she couldn't travel. She's like, I've been all over the world. What you saying? You know? And it was sad because she later finds out, because Angela goes, you were supposed to be cool with her and get the money. Because he tells her, because some street stuff happened and his boy got shot or whatever, and he needed $3,000. So she was like, oh, I'll get you the money, whatever. He was using her for money. So basically he could get the money was for his wife, because the wife was like, you were supposed to go get money from her, and you heard her on the radio and all this stuff. So basically it was all a scam. And that's what makes the story so sad. Like, he didn't get with her because he liked her. He got with her because she was Sister Souljah. She was kind of famous. She was on the radio and stuff. And so the plan was to get with her, use her for money, and keep it moving. And the very last thing he says to her is, I don't love you, and I never did. So that's really, really sad, because she found out he had a baby, a wife, he was a drug dealer. And even at the last minute, she still was willing to talk to him. Because most females would be like, don't call my fucking phone. Da, 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 da. They would have hung up. Like, I'm his wife. Who the fuck? Like, what? Wife? Not even girlfriend. Because girlfriend, you could argue that down. Like, bitch, you saying you his girlfriend, I'm his girlfriend too. That's something you could debate about, because you got chicks that's delusional and they think they the girlfriend. So that's something that could be debated. But you cannot debate with someone who says that they're the wife. And then he didn't even deny it and say, nah, she not my wife. He didn't even deny it, which means it was true. And she said she was shocked because he came to the phone and was like, what? Like, even though he was possessive and controlling towards Sister Souljah, which that says a lot about her, that she was just so kind of like scared of him. The wife was like, no, you go on the phone and you tell this bitch but whatever. And so he gets on the phone like, hey, and Sister Soldier's like, hey, he's like, I don't love you and I never did. Click. So it's like, wow, and shame on Sister Souljah for the moment he said he had a kid, an 8-month-old. No, it's time to give him his walking papers. Like, no, that's not acceptable. And as a woman, you have to know what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. Like, certain things is just not cool. That's not cool to have a baby and you ain't know nothing about it. Because if you lie about that, you'll lie about other things. And my whole thing is, if you accept the lie, from that moment, you have to keep your guard up. And I can say it because I've done it. I've been there, done that. So I know, like, once a dude tells me a lie, my guard is up. Like, okay, so we gonna chill, we gonna hang, we gonna spend time, but just know that you will never have my heart. Like, I've never been a stupid chick. Like, I've always been street smart. I've always been boy smart, man smart, whatever you want. Like, I've never been gullible. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I've fallen in love and stuff like that. But something like that, when you lying about babies and from when I found out that dude was a drug dealer, bye. And luckily I found out early, and stuff like that. So, yeah, like, what the hell? And then just in general, like, I guess that's the difference between men and women. Like, me as a woman, I always tell dudes when I meet them I have a kid. It's just natural. He lives with me. I'm very proud of him. If that's something you don't want, shame on you. But you do have dudes that will not tell you that they have kids, because they know that some females may or may not tolerate that. But for the most part, females, they desperate. You got a lot of females that the dude could have 6 kids and they'll still get with them. That's something I'll never understand, because why would you want to be baby mama number 2, 3, 4, or 5? The only way that I would like have a baby for a dude who got kids already, it gotta be my scenario. Like, oh, he made a mistake when he was young and whatever. Or it gotta be like that's his ex-wife and he had kids with her. You can't just be having casual sex and babies out here and you at baby mama number 3 and I'ma date you. No, like, raise your standards, but don't be afraid to have standards. And from that chapter, that's what it should be. Like, When he finally told her, yo, I have a kid, she should have been like, no, I'm sorry, we could be friends, we could be cool, but relationship wise, no, because I can't trust you. What else you hiding? Are you gay? Like, you got a wife? You got a, is she really just your baby mama? Like, my mind will constantly be racing. So I could never, when I was young, especially now, you lie to me about one thing, I'm always gonna look at you like this, cockeyed. I'm always gonna sleep with one eye open, and that's just how I've always been. So it's like, we gotta be smarter, ladies. Don't be afraid to have standards, and you gotta get the book. I know the book is old, but it's definitely worth it. I had this book for a while. I didn't even know about this book until 10 years ago. This book is actually from the 90s. It's called No Disrespect. It's the very first book that Sister Souljah has written. And that chapter 6, Derek, or Chance. I'm up to Derek, but it's good.